All right, everyone, thank you for coming. I'd like to call this meeting to order for Wednesday, May 26, 2021. Could we all rise for the playing of O Canada, please? Thank you very much, everyone. And I'd like to remind everyone to put your phones on mute and vibrate. I forgot to mention that before we got online. So we'll move on to item number 2, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions of the agenda as circulated? Councillor Daniel Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add an economic impact study to the agenda, please.
Economic impact study. We'll put that under new business under 6.2. Economic impact study.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Is there any other additions to the agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Nick Hilton. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. A motion on the floor to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Item number 3, declarations of any conflict of interest. If there's any, please declare now, or if we get talking on the subject and you feel that it's a declaration that you need to make a declaration of conflict of interest, please speak up and it will be recorded by Victoria Pierce, the recording secretary. Item number 4, approval of the minutes. You all have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that we approve the council meeting minutes of April the 19th, regular council minutes of April the 28th, committee of the whole minutes for May the 12th, and special council meeting minutes for May the 13th.
Okay, a motion on the floor by Councillor Nick Hilton. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Patty Durkees. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 5, old business. Recommendations from the Committee of the Whole. 5.1.1, Group ATN Draft Strategic Priorities Document. And 5.1.1.1, you have the recommendation in front of you. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yes, I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth approve the Group ATN Draft Strategic Priorities Document and make it essentially
I'll second that, Trevor. I'll second that, John.
Motion on the floor by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Is there any discussion on that motion? No one wants to talk about it? Some of the features?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
I know you probably don't see our hands go up with the way Zoom is set up. Yes, I just wanted to make a comment that I'm pleasantly pleased with the different pictures that depict more of our area than just, what was previously put there, and, excited to work on this document for the next 4 years and move some things forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Group ATN for their work on the strategic plan and making my first go around really educational and really thoughtful. And as you see in some of the work that we're putting out, we're recognizing certain things that it's time that we move forward, like diversity and inclusion, and also moving forward with some of the projects that were already identified by this council and previous councils. So it is an exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to the next 3.5 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any more? Before I call for the question, you're absolutely right, Councillor Nick Hilton and Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. I'd like to thank Group ATN for helping us along with this. And as Councillor Nick Hilton mentioned, diversity is one of the Features of our plan, strategic direction and accountability, transparency and best practice governance. I'm very excited to move forward with this plan. And what is the wishes of council? There's a motion on the floor. Okay, so motion on the floor to approve the strategic plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, item 5.1.2, rates. We'll move on to 5.1.2.1, residential and resource tax rates. What is the wish?
I think there's a couple hands up there.
Yes, I see the Deputy Warden's hand go up. So Trevor, you have the floor.
Right, given that it's a COVID year and we've been able to balance the books as is required by legislation with the within the existing tax rates, I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth approve a residential / resource tax rate per $100 of assessment of $1.18 per $100 of assessment.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This being my first go around at a municipal budget, it's been an enlightening process, and I'm glad that for now we can keep the residential rate the same as in previous years. I agree with Deputy Warden Cunningham with COVID and the uncertainty that we're all facing. I think that it's important that we just maintain the status quo, and even we'll see when we come to our draft budget. We do have a small surplus, but I think we can work with that and keep things moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. There's so much uncertainty right now. There are businesses, particularly small businesses, who are suffering and who aren't able to open. And a lot of those people who have businesses in town are residents of our community, and they do not know, when we're going to be able to reopen. And hopefully everybody will be able to reopen. So we have to take that into consideration. Also, there is a lot of changes in real estate and increases in construction. So I think we'll see how things come about through the year, and I'm happy to support keeping the rates the same.
Is there any more discussion? Yes, I wanted to point out to everyone that's watching on Facebook Live that the residential rate is going to be remaining unchanged this year at $1.18 per 100 assessment. So just to make that crystal clear. So if there's no more discussion on this, I'd entertain a motion or a question.
Question.
Motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Item 5.1.2.2, commercial tax rate. What is council's wishes? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yes, for the same reasonings as given for holding the line on the residential / resource rates, I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth approve a commercial tax rate of $2.17 per $100 of assessment.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion on the floor? Hearing none.
Question there. I had to get unmuted.
Question on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Item 5.1.2.3, special assessment. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden, you have the floor.
Yes, I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth fix the special assessment / sewer rate at $86.99 per unit equivalent per quarter.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder?
I got a question. I think Greg would clarify that it's actually 89 or 86.66.
No,
89.66, sorry. We received a second email to say that it was backwards.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay, Council, or Deputy Warden, would you wish to amend the motion?
I will amend that to the new figure.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by
I'll
Council,
second it.
seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Is there any discussion on that motion? So to be very clear, the motion on the floor is to approve the special assessment rate at $89.66, correct? So just to be very clear that we're voting on that. Greg?
If it's okay, Mr. Warden, I'm not sure if it's appropriate or not, but I would actually like to clarify too that that is the rate per quarter.
yes.
Okay, is that all right with the mover and seconder to add that to the motion to rate per quarter of 89?
It was read in originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any discussion on that motion?
Question,
Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Item 5.1.2.4, fire rates. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden, you have the floor.
Yes, I'll move the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rates for the 21-22 fiscal at as follows. Carlton, 11 cents per $100 of assessment. Port Maitland, or are we going to do these, Mr. Chair, one at a time or all together?
I would prefer one at a time, Deputy Warden.
Okay, then I'll move the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rate for Carlton at 11 cents per $100 of assessment.
Okay, a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Deputy Warden,
Yeah, I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rate for Port Maitland at 14 cents per $100 of assessment.
motion on the floor by Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Deputy Warden,
Yeah, I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rate for the Yarmouth area, which is the area serviced by the Yarmouth Fire Department, at 16 cents per $100 assessment.
okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Deputy Warden,
I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rate for lakes and districts at 17 cents per $100 of assessment.
Motion on the floor by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Deputy Warden?
Yeah, I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth set the Lake Vaughan fire rate at 15 cents per $100 of assessment.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously.
I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rate for Valiant District at 8 cents per $100 of assessment.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. And I believe there's one.
And there is one more. I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth set the fire rate for the Kempville area at 11 cents per $100 of assessment.
A motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. I believe that's all the fire rates, and just for everyone's information, the fire rates did not change as per their annual general meetings and ratepayers meetings that they held this spring. All right, we'll move on. Item number 5.1.3, draft operating budget. I'm going to turn the floor over to our financial wizard, Greg Shea. You have the floor.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So it's budget eve, and you've just approved your operating rates for the year, which are fundamental to the budget. So now I'll provide you with the dollar numbers that are attached to this operating plan for this year and by the major categories. We'll start in the revenue section of your operating plan. So the number for assessable property this year will be $10,280,457. Special assessments revenue this year, which is essentially the sewer service, is $287,740. Business property will be $315,329. And other taxes will be $263,531. So the total revenue stream from tax revenues is budgeted to be $11,147,057. Other revenues include grants in lieu of taxes of $37,200. Services to other governments at $460,984. Other revenue from own sources is budgeted to be $899,860. Unconditional transfers from other governments at $151,243. Conditional transfers from other governments is budgeted to be $510,369. And other transfers, which is transfers from reserves, is $122,650. So total non-tax revenues for 21-22 are budgeted to be $2,182,306. And that leaves a combined total operating revenues for the year budgeted at $13,329,363. The expenditure side of your operating plan, we start out with general government services, and we have legislative services, which is $298,021. We have general administration at $1,037,815. We have financial management at $56,855. Taxation or other taxation at $296,147. And we have other general government services budgeted for $362,648. So the total for the general government services category is $2,051,486. Protective services, which includes policing and corrections, is $1,000,000. $234,258. Fire protection is $1,110,283. Emergency measures is $60,577. Other protective services is $336,345. Animal and pest control is $29,745. So the total for the protective services segment of your operating plan is $2,771,208. In transportation and public works, we have road transport and transportation services of $479,946. We have streetlights of $64,530. And we have public works operations of $533,059. So the total for the transportation and public works segment of the operating plan is $1,077,535. Environmental health services, including sewage disposal, tipping fees, and garbage pickup, is $1,234,076. And that is the total for environmental services category. In public health and welfare, we have a total for that category of $229,178. Environmental development services, environmental planning is $141,744. Industrial parks, industrial park operations is $105,728. And other environmental development services is budgeted to be $298,988. So the total for the environmental development services category is $546,460. Recreation total is $771,984. And we have a budget for culture and heritage this year of $35,500. So the total for the culture, recreation and culture category is $807,484. In fiscal services, we have debt charges, interest of $107,222, and principal payments of $559,996. Transfers to own reserves, funds, and agencies is $1,120,000. And conditional transfers to other governments is $2,983,910. And there's a contingency for unforeseen expenditures line of $25,000. So the total in the fiscal services category.
Sorry, everyone, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. However, we're back on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the floor back over to Greg Shea, and then he'll start off. We roughly stopped at recreation when we were live streaming, so we're going to go back to the draft operating budget, and from my understanding, we'll start at recreation because that's roughly where we got cut off, or actually a little bit afterwards. But Greg, you can start at recreation. So Greg, you have the floor again.
Yes, all right, thank you. We'll pick up, just roll back the tape just a little bit here and pick up a little bit from where we left off, just to make sure there's no gaps in the record. So we will go back to recreation, and I'll mention again that the recreation total was $771,984, and there was a line item for culture and heritage this year of $35,500. So the total for recreation and culture was budgeted $807,484. And then we get on to fiscal services. For fiscal services, we have interest on long-term debt of $107,222. We have principal payments on long-term debt of $359,996. Transfers to own reserves is $1,120,000. Conditional transfers to other governments is $2,983,910. And the contingency for unforeseen of $25,000 rounds out the bottom part of the fiscal services. So this total fiscal services category of the 21-22 operating budget is $4,596,128. So those expenditure categories all add up to a total operating expenditure budget at $13,313,555. That will leave us with a surplus budgeted this year of $15,808.
Okay, y'all had the report from Greg Shea, our Chief Financial Officer. Is What is the wishes of council? Councillor Daniel Allen.
I will make a motion that we accept the operational budget as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we talked about this at Committee of the Whole, but could we ask, through you to Greg, could we get him to explain, because this is my first time and it was a learning experience for me to understand that there are certain expenditures that we have no control over. So Greg, could you tell us what the percentage of that is per year? Do we know roughly?
Yeah, there's several expenditures that we have very little say or control over, and I have to track those actually on an annual basis. Now, I don't have the detailed report right in front of me here, but they tend to run upwards of close to the 55 to 60% range of your total operating budget. If you look at the two biggest line items that impact that category, it's policing and education. Between those two, they're roughly just about 25% of your total budget. So there's a significant not downloading, there's some numbers are downloaded, but some are just mandatory expenditures that are required because the services are delivered through contracts, through province or through other means, but we're responsible for paying for them. So there's a large category of our annual operating budget that I call non-discretionary. In other words, we have very little impact or say or influence on what the number is going to be. It's handed to us and we have to cover it in our rates.
Thank you. Non-discretionary, that was the word I was looking for. I knew you used a fancy word, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've said it before, but I'm going to say it one more time that in this budget, recognizing ground search and rescue as a budget line item yearly, how much that means to them and how much it means to me, that we all were able to work together, and the work that our CAO did with the other CAOs to help stabilize that group. I'm really excited to see where they go, and thank you all for the work that was done on that file.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. CAO Victoria Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering if, through you, Mr. Chair, to the mover and the seconder, if it would be agreeable to have the language in the motion read approve the budget rather than accept it.
Is it okay by the mover and seconder? I see their heads nodding.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I should have used the word approved.
Is there any more discussion on this? I'm going to just point out something that Councillor Sherry Hurlbert put out, non-discretionary things that the municipality district of Yarmouth has to pay for. One of them is provincial education. That one this year increased by more than CPI, which was 0.3%. I think the figure that I figured it out to, forgive me on my math, I think was 1.8%. So that was an increase of $46,115. So it equals 2.29 million of our budget. But that's something we have absolutely no control over. Another thing on here, but council did approve this, was the library programs. That increased this year by $14,206, but council did previously approve that to help the library out. But those are some of the non-discretionary items that we have on our budget that we have no control over. Housing was another one that was increased greatly over last year. So if there's no more discussion, there is a motion on the floor. What is the wishes of council?
Question.
Question being called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, council. 13.3 million. If I remember correctly, when I first started, it was only around 11 million. Our operating budget. So that's only been 12 short years ago. So we'll move on to item 5.1.4, the draft capital investment plan. Greg Shea, you have the floor. Your
All right, thank you again. So this is really your capital and your operating reserve planning expenditures for the year. There's combined items in here that are taken from the operating reserves as well, but the total planned spend this year of those reserves is $3,539,304. It covers multiple projects that have been identified as priorities by council and the region. There's also a combination of funding streams in there within the reserve. Some of those are funded by your gas tax funds. Some of those are intended to be funded by your normal, your non-gas tax, your capital reserve fund, and some are intended to be funded by operating reserves. But that is the total budget this year, 3,539,304.
What is the wishes of council? Councillor Patty Durkee, you have the floor.
Sorry, we're looking at our capital priority?
Yes.
Okay, I'm confused then because I see 6 million.
Okay, so the 6 million that you see includes Modi's anticipated total spend on some of those projects to span multiple years.
Got
You
it.
should, the furthest right column should be for just 21, 22. If that's in your document, it should be.
Am I mistaken? Because I don't see it, or do others have that?
Others have that?
No, it's not in the doc.
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm sorry, that was delivered to be included in part of the package. I might be able to find it in my own document and share it with you on the screen briefly if you want to have a look at it.
Sure,
Yes,
thank you.
Let's see if I can do this. Can you guys see my screen?
Somehow you have to choose what screen you want to show us.
That's not what I want to show you anyway. What's going on?
It's one of those days.
Okay. Now, I have the document up, but you say you cannot see it yet?
Nope.
So if I click share screen on the bottom, shouldn't that?
Greg, are you running 2 monitors?
No.
Okay. Maybe just click stop share and try to reshare it again. There we go. You got it.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah,
Oh,
there we go.
where is it? There. See that? Okay. So you'll see that column to the right, 21, 22. So this here column here lays out the planned spend for each project. Some of the same as this column, but there are several projects that span multiple years, like our investment in the free terminal, our plan for accessibility upgrades, another important their commitment to the Mariner Center, where we plan on making commitments over several years. So we just broken it out a little bit more, so it's a little bit more clear for the actual spend in this year. That's where we have the 3,539,304. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, that is clear.
Okay,
What we have here in our package is the 3 to 5 year plan.
what I can do is submit this for the, you'll have it, so you can have it for the record afterwards, I guess, and you can slide it in the documents.
Okay, I can't see everybody. Greg, do you have any more to speak to on that?
No, just wanted to clarify, you'll see the COVID reserve on here too, but again, it's more just for your information purposes and for our own tracking. The COVID Safe Restart program is not intended for capital, so that's what it should have been total spend. It's capital spend. It isn't part of your operational spend for this year. It's just it's just another way we have to track this reserve for ourselves and for reporting to the province. So I included on this worksheet.
All right, the only hand I see up would be Patty at this time, and I apologize if I don't see anyone else first. So I'll turn the floor over to Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that we approve the capital expenditure for 2021.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Deputy
Question?
Warden? No, Trevor seemed to have locked all of a sudden. Deputy Warden, did you have a comment you'd like to make before I call for the question?
No, I'm all set. I'm assuming that the motion's going to be about the number that was read in the record by Mr. Shea.
Yes.
Hmm.
All right, if no other comments or questions, a question was called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.1.5, 5.1.5.1, confirmation of municipal grants and the recommendation from the committee of the whole. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Nick Hilton?
Sure. I will move that we move forward the grant request, as circulated. Sorry. Trying to confirmation. So is it a motion to accept or approve the confirmation of the municipal grants for the 21, 22 or 2021 and 2022 budget? How would you like that worded?
The recommendation on the confirmation of municipal grants, it was moved by, this has come from the committee of the whole. It was moved by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham and seconded by Councillor Lauren.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not it. Or is it?
That's it.
You're looking for approval of the municipal grants for the 2021, 2022. Correct?
It is one of those days. I know we had a full moon, or if not, it's coming, because even my computer is locked up on me.
The recommendation.
Grants. It was moved by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham and seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. As part of the operating budget, we move forward the grants request as circulated to the regular council meeting for approval.
That.
So that's what you want to make as a motion, Councillor Nick Hilton? Okay,
Yeah.
a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Is there any Deputy Warden?
Yes, all the grants are a really good expenditure of public funds, but I would like to note that the applicants for the bursaries this year, typically in any typical year, we have $2,000 allocated. So there are two $1,000 scholarships given, bursaries given for post-secondary attendance. This year we had 7 students apply that will be going to post-secondary next year. And because of COVID and all the problems the students have had and experienced, and it's been really, really tough on that age group, certainly. And just understanding that we did grant everyone that applied this year the bursary, so 7 in total. So where normally would have had an allocation of $2,000. We allocated $7,000. So 7 students or deserving students are going to, have the $1,000 bursary.
Deputy Warden, you jumped ahead a couple, but that's coming.
Oh, my apologies.
That's quite all right. This one here is just in regards to the confirmation of the municipal grants, the process we went through. That's quite all right. So is there any?
There you go.
Is there any discussion on that motion that Councillor Nick Hilton made? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert and Councillor Nick Hilton.
No discussion. I think I comment because this is my first go around again, but I was pleasantly surprised the number of applicants and, that we were able to, give, our, part of our budget to these definitely worthwhile causes. And I'm looking forward to seeing these organizations do something good for their communities with the money that we've, allotted to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hurlbert. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, it was my first go around in the grants process. It was not eye-opening as a member of a couple community groups. You know the struggles that people have gone through. So we had a lot of big asks this year due to COVID, and we just want to, the people that we supported, we tried to support everyone that we recognize the difficulty, and we had to work within our budget, but they were all great applications. And again, we recognize COVID, the difficulties of COVID, and hopefully we can help each and everyone in some way. So thanks again for the great working group and the great team effort to try to work through all these applications.
Is there any more discussion on that? I'd like to make one quick comment before I call for the question. Confirmation of municipal grants, that's one thing that council does have direct control over. Every year, I would love to give a lot more, but our budgetary restrictions on us limit us to what we can do to help out other groups across the area, whether it's Scouts or 4-H or community groups or things like that. But we do try to help everyone in every way. I do believe that they will be notified via mail once this budget is passed tonight. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the way that it's turned out. And Councillor Sherry Hurlbert and Councillor Nick Hilton, I'm not trying to single you out, but it's certainly been I'm sure for you, an eye-opener on how council works in our first budgetary process. Trust me, it gets harder as you go. It doesn't seem to get any easier. That's what I've always found. But thank you very much, everyone. We had a good discussion on different grants and different organizations and things like that. And a lot of you have actually opened up my eyes to some of the way, the inner workings of the grant, because obviously I can't be everywhere, but a lot of you have your feelers out or know somebody or been helped by a group or different community organization. We've certainly helped out a lot of community halls. One in the previous councils was Councillor Lauren Cushion's district, the Pembroke Hall. That's turned that whole building into something that was barely usable to something that's actually quite nice. And once COVID restrictions lift, I can't wait to go out in his area and show off my guitar skills. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that. Since there's no one else wanting to speak on that, I'd entertain the question on the motion on the floor. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Item 5.1.6, approval of Safe Restart grants. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden.
Yes, I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth approve the Safe Restart grants as circulated in the amount of $50,000.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Me again. I just have a question through you to CAO on how these organizations are notified and how the distribution of money for this, is it separate? Is it different than the process for the regular grant process? Thank you.
Councillor Hurlbert, and we'll use the same process for notifying all groups who will be receiving a contribution from council. The flow of the Safe Restart grants will happen as soon as the finance department can get organized and flow the money, because that money is already there and segregated. We typically don't flow the regular community grants until September, after we've done our tax collection process and we're in a better cash position.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? I'm going to direct my question to the CAO, even though I know the answer to it. Where did this money come from, this extra $50,000? If you could explain that to everybody.
Yep. So when the municipality of Yarmouth received its Safe Restart funds from the federal government, council took a look at their expenses related to COVID, as well as the pillars and the allowable expenses that came down with the program. And so contributions to community groups who've experienced hardship due to COVID were considered allowable expenses. And so it was recommended council consider a program to that effect. And so earlier this spring, council approved a $50,000 fund, and applications came in, and council reviewed the applications, and the recommendation before you tonight is the result of your decision to grant the full $50,000 fund to community groups.
Thank you very much, Madam CAO. I think this is something great, that with money that we received the province for Safe Restart and COVID-related issues that different groups and organizations have had, and this is actually something that I'm very pleased to hand out to different organizations and groups. So if there's no more discussion on the motion on the floor, to entertain the question.
Question.
Question being called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Item 5.1.7, Student Bursary Program. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden.
Right, I apologize. I was so fired up about this one that I jumped the gun. So my previous comments stand, I guess. And again, you know, the youth year near and dear to all of our hearts, certainly. And again, they have, I mean, suffered probably disproportionately, you know, because of you know, the issues of not being able to do the things that they'd like to because of COVID, certainly. So it's been a tough year for them. So I think this will be some small measure of consolation. So I'll move that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth allot an additional $5,000 for the post-secondary bursary program for the 2021-22 fiscal year, and that the municipality district of Yarmouth approve all bursary applications is presented for a total of $7,000.
Motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Is there any discussion on that motion? I do have one question through to the CAO, and this is in regards to where the extra monies come from. Some of that is through the Safe Restart, which we just approved the grants for the Safe Restart. Have you heard from Municipal Affairs if that was an allowable expense at the time?
So a couple of points, Mr. Chair. So the additional $5,000 is not coming out of the $50,000. It's an additional $5,000 coming from the Safe Restart Fund. And I was not directed to ask Municipal Affairs the question. I was just directed to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does have here in the recommendation that to recommend to council that Modi allot an additional $5,000 for the post-secondary bursary program. And yeah, and whereas, and it also says here, whereas Modi may have access to the Safe Restart monies for this process, but if we don't have access to the Safe Restart monies, we all decided that we may have to work the budget a little bit to approve it through contingency or something else like that. So, but this year.
Well, if I could, Mr. Chair, just to respond to that.
Yep.
Yep, so we are definitely going to fund the extra $5,000 through Safe Restart. What may happen is when our use of the Safe Restart money is audited, we may have to defend that decision. And you know, the connection to Safe Restart has to be a direct line to COVID. And so in your motion, you have a series of whereases with respect to COVID and the undue hardship on students. So it's possible that, you know, we'll have to answer some questions about that decision of council. And if through the audit, it's defined as an ineligible expense, then in that financial period where that decision might get handed down, we may have to do something.
Yeah. And it's not like we're going to approve it here and take it away once we've done it. So the students are definitely getting it, all the student bursaries. So is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor?
Question.
Question being called on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Kind of night it's being is my cards are sticking to my table tonight. So we have problems with the internet, have trouble with cards sticking. So I think the full moon is pulling real strongly on us tonight for whatever reason. All right, we'll move on. Item 5.1.8, request for funding from the Tri-Counties Women's Center. You all have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had multiple conversations around a request made by the Tri-County Women's Center, and the recommendation from council was, and I guess we can make it a motion to invite Tri-County Women's Center in to present at the next committee of the whole meeting or a following committee of the whole meeting at their convenience, just to provide us with a little bit more information and information in how on their process so that we can make a better informed decision.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'm going to make a quick comment. I'm looking forward to hearing from the Tri-Counties Women's Center on the things that they do. This is not one group we've typically heard from over the years, so I'm actually quite excited, and I do believe that there's been some correspondence between the CAO and Tish McCourt, I think her name is, that they're arranging that. So anyway, if there's no more discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Item 5.1.9, Canadian Federation of Independent Business Letter on Construction Mitigation. You all have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Deputy Warden, you have the floor.
Right. There was a letter that was circulated and discussed at Committee of the Whole from the Canadian Independent Business Group. And in any event, we had a conversation, and you know, we're going to have a bunch of projects on the go over the next number of years, provided they're funded, certainly, sidewalks and other projects. And during the construction process, we decided at the behest of this organization that we were going to include language in any RFP around construction, and to ensure, you know, good traffic management and to lower the impact, any potential impact on the business community. So having said that, I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth include business interruption mitigation plan in all tender documents.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder to that? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing or seeing
Question?
none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.1.10, clarification request, Heritage Property Program. Deputy Warden.
Yeah, and this is just really a housekeeping item that's necessary to identify which heritage properties fall under the heritage property program. So given that information, I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth include the currently registered heritage properties in the heritage property program.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chair, I should have said only, include only.
Okay, is that okay with the seconder? Was that clear? Okay, thumbs up. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Moving on, item number 6, CAO's report. You all have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Have any questions for her? Madam CAO?
There is a typo, Mr. Chair, on page 1, and I'm fairly confident Councillor Durkee and Councillor Hurlbert have already noted it, but I'll just read it into the record. When I was providing an update around the Mariner Center, I omitted a 0 in the project fund envelope, 30 million to 25 million, not 3 million to 25 million.
Yeah, that's quite a typo. If there's no discussion around the CAO's report, I'd entertain a motion to accept the report as presented. Deputy Warden, you have the floor. You're muted, Deputy Warden.
Apologies. Yes, thank you, Madam CAO, for providing such a detailed report. It's always helpful and allows us and the public to track and understand what's going on in the municipality. So it's really a welcome piece. And we're very, very busy, and as a council and staff, and as we've already heard, we have a really robust capital plan over the next number of years, and looking to get lots of things done. And the Mariner Center file is moving ahead, and I've really been pleased that the 3 municipal units in our county have been able to work so well together over the last little bit to position ourselves to move ahead on the expansion and get 275 Main open, both those pieces. So I would just encourage everybody out there to when you see your MP and your MLAs, mention the importance of the project to them, and because those are the pieces we need. We need the federal help and the provincial help to dollars to see this project through to fruition. That's the new build. So everybody wants a new pool, so let's all work together and raise our voice to ensure that it happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more discussion? If there's none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the CAO's report as presented with the one correction. Moved by Councillor Nick Hilton. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Motion on the floor to accept the CAO's report as amended with that one figure, that 10. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Moving on to new business, one that was added at the start of the agenda, item 6.2, economic impact study. Councillor Daniel Allen, you had asked to have this added here, so I'm handing the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess what I'm looking for right now is I'm trying to find some information on whether there's ever been an economic impact study done on the Southwest Nova Scotia as far as how the importance of the fishing industry to the economic stability of Southwest Nova Scotia. I don't know if there's been one done lately, or is that something that we can kind of get a ball rolling on? I've had a few people ask me about this. I think it would be an important piece of information moving forward, especially with some of the conservation issues that are going on right now. So I guess maybe through you to Madam CAO, do you know, I know I'm throwing you guys off. This wasn't something that was, so I'm just wondering, is there anything out there right now? I know there's been talk between wardens and deputy wardens and, on this issue. I'm just wondering if there's ever been a study done that you know of.
So thank you, Councillor Allen. I know that different parts of the fishing industry, different sectors, so for example, groundfish or lobster or eels or oysters, different sectors have done work. What I can do is, I think right off the top, if it's council's wishes, I can start with the Western Regional Enterprise Network, find out what they've gathered, because when they did the environmental scan to develop the region's economic development strategy, they would have taken a look at that sector and gathered information and intelligence around, how many people are employed, what are the landings, what's the export value. They would have taken a look at some of those things. So I can start there and see what's available. I know the Coldwater Lobster Association has done things, the Lobster Council of Canada has done things. I just don't know if it's all been put together with a bow on it. So were you thinking sector-wide, or were you thinking a particular specialty inside the sector?
Well, obviously, I'm thinking sector-wide, but I definitely would like to see some emphasis on the lobster industry. I mean, we have a huge resource, a very valuable resource. I think it would be nice to know. I shouldn't say nice. Nice isn't the word. I think it would be valuable to know just what this does for this end of the province.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what an economic study would cost. I am hoping that if we were to reach out to sister municipalities, as far as Digby and Shelburne, both sides, I would believe that we would garner some interest. I really believe that. I could be wrong. The numbers for export and things like that, I know are readily available. I just would like to know, we keep saying that it's the backbone of the economy in Southwest Nova Scotia, and I would just like to see if there is proof of that. I think it would be valuable information.
Yep, and I could also check in. I have a few colleagues at Fisheries and Oceans from when I was doing economic development, so I can check in with a few people. And what I can do is, if it's okay with council, if I have this much latitude, I may bring a couple of people together and maybe organize maybe a presentation for council and kind of bring you all 7 of you up to the same place before you reach out to your colleagues and sister municipalities and kind of make an ask. Just first thoughts around it.
I'm fine with that, Madam CAO. I'm just trying to, I just want to get the ball started. I want to get the ball rolling on this. I honestly believe that the Nova Scotia government should be probably a part, should be notified and a part of this. I think it would be great information for them as well, to know just what takes place. We know that lobster alone is like a $500 to $700 million industry. So I'd like to know what rolls downhill from there, like where, we've done it with tourism. I'd like to know just how it affects Southwest Nova.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Chair, would council be willing then to maybe have an extra meeting if we can bring some people together to provide some information to council? Would you be willing to have another meeting? I hesitate to wait until committee of the whole in June. It's kind of a timely issue. And probably, if I'm sensing what Councillor Allen is sharing correctly, there's a timeliness to it, and probably should have a focus of my time and energy. So maybe a motion and some kind of indication on whether or not you would like it to happen in a special meeting outside of our regular schedule.
All right, I'll table after, if Councillor Allen, are you done? Because Councillor Cushing has his hand up. He'd like to speak.
Yeah, and I'm interested to hear what the rest of the councils around the table would, I don't know if we need a motion and then we discuss it, or whether you'd like to discuss it ahead of time. But no, I'm very anxious to hear what everyone would think on this.
It's the chair's prerogative if I'd like to see a motion, but I'd like to see where this goes a little bit before someone make a motion and maybe jump and have to amend stuff. So Councillor Lauren Cushing, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yes, Daniel, I know there's information out there because I have seen it one time during my first term, and I can't tell you exactly where I got it from, but there is an impact study out that's, I don't know about impact study or not, but it's out there and definitely should be updated. And it's a very important subject that we should jump onto it. And Madam CAO was, she had made a very good point that it's a special meeting should be called ASAP to get things rolling on this. So I do know the information is out there because I was involved there for a little bit at one time. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cushing. Deputy Warden.
Yes, I think that's a fantastic idea to have that Councillor Allen poses, and I'm all for it. And I think we should have a meeting certainly much sooner than later, and definitely before our June committee of the whole meeting. And you know, there is information out there, but certainly a lot is to Councillor Cushing's point. And but I think this would be a good opportunity for us to you know, collect that information, collate it, and then you know, build on it, because I'm sure there are lots of questions that you know, what's been done so far hasn't necessarily answered. So you know, it's a really fluid situation in our lobster fishery, which is the most important. And I don't think we've done enough you know, in terms of understanding the impact of the lobster fishery. We all know it's huge. But there's lots more we could learn from doing some work around that, both us and the community and you know, the province. So yeah, fantastic. So I'll leave that to maybe Councillor Allen to make the motion.
Any more discussion? So from what I've heard is everyone thinks that's a great idea. Number one, to move forward was see what information's out there and get the CAO to, excuse me, beat the bushes to find out what information is available to us. And I would certainly entertain calling a special meeting to meet with the stakeholders or someone that can provide some of that information. So Councillor Allen, would you wish to make a motion on that regards or something different, or that's not?
Oh, I would like to make a motion. I'm just not exactly sure exactly what you're looking for a motion, I guess. I
guess the motion that I think the CAO was looking for was to make a motion for her to do some homework on the economic impact of the fishery in Southwest Nova, or at least in the Yarmouth County area.
So I would like to make a motion to have our CAO reach out to fellow colleagues and perhaps bring some information back to us in a special council meeting, or I don't know if you want to call it a special council meeting, a early council meeting. So we could have a look at getting a economic impact study started.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Madam CAO, I have a question for you. Is that the direction you require?
Clear, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no more discussion, Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I agree with the motion in the fact that there's nothing wrong with looking into what the economic impact of the lobster and fishing industries are in our area, but I do worry about perception. We haven't really said if that's commercial, if that's, you know, native, if that's any, we haven't narrowed that down any. So when we go to make those plans, I think it's important that we include all the stakeholders and that we, you know, do it above board and I know we're all concerned about the safety issues this summer and for all residents of Nova Scotia. And I do look forward to moving this process forward, but we have to do it in a safe and respectful manner. So, and I know Daniel has mentioned that this afternoon, that he was completely on board for that, and that's not the direction that it took, but we haven't talked about that tonight. And I think there's an importance in letting the community know that. Thank you.
Councillor Daniel Allen.
Yeah, so just to clarify, Nick, just to make sure I'm not, because maybe I'm being misunderstood. I hope I'm not. By an economic impact study, I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter who is catching the lobsters. It's just an impact study on what the lobster industry does for Southwest Nova Scotia as a whole.
I agree. I want to say that going forward, that we know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I'd never mean it just one. It's yeah, we, everything that is brought in and landed and is exported that is recorded, regardless of who catches it, would be part of the economic impact study, as far as I'm concerned. I'd just like to know, like, everybody always says that it's the engine that drives this end of the province, and I think it would help to have some proof, just so that all levels of government and we would know just what it means to this end of the province.
Okay, any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, moving on. Item number 7 for correspondence, none for action. We also have, for information, we have 2 pieces of information in regards to Brendan McGuire, which we met with today. So that was kind of nice. He responded very quickly and we were able to set up a meeting. Too sweet. Okay. Moving on. Reports 8.1 legal entities. You all have them in there. Is there any councillors that wish to report on any of those legal entities? All right, I see Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, Councillor Patty Durkee, then Councillor Lauren Cushion. So we'll go in that order. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the Regional Solid Waste Authority, we had talked at our last committee of the whole about littering and illegal dumping. And I had asked for that to be added to our last waste check meeting, and we discussed it in some detail. We all know with the regional or the provincial government guidelines that any organized litter cleanups are not allowed to be happening. But if people are out on their own and want to pick up garbage in their own neighborhood on their own, they can do that. And there are some people, individuals who understand and know that they can reach out to WasteCheck, and WasteCheck will provide the bags and gloves and other things that people will need. So an individual doesn't have to burden that responsibility on their own. And that can still happen even during the provincial lockdown. So if any private citizen resident wants to pick up the garbage in their neighborhood to make it, clean and neat and tidy, they can go to WasteCheck, and WasteCheck will provide them with a package of goods, and they can have a safe drop-off zone, safe pickup zone outside of their office. So if they just reach out to people, WasteCheck, they will get that ready for them and go on your merry way of cleaning up our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all your work that you did here just recently in regards to picking up garbage and any other councillor that's involved. Councillor Patty Durkee, you were also involved, but you also have the floor for committee reports.
Yes, I have 3. I'll try and make it quick. Western Counties Regional Library, I spoke to their executive director today, Erin Camo, and she's extremely thankful that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth has gone ahead and given the updated financial amount to them. It is extremely gratefully, I can't say it enough, appreciated. A lot of the others did not go with the new funding, but we did, and that it will help go at least a little way to help improve particularly the wages of their staff for whatever they can do. So they're looking at trying to get towards a living wage. Yarmouth and Acadian Shores, we met. Just a few things. I'm just flipping over here to the documents. Interesting. First of all, the levy agreement that enables Acadia First Nations to contribute to the levy and support tourism marketing and initiatives has been approved. The agreement has been approved. We're still continuing to work through the management plan, and that includes trying to enhance the shoulder winter season tourism in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores. Interviews, Neil has been doing interviews on CTV and CJLS regarding the impact of the Atlantic bubble opening. Interesting, we talked about economic impact study because we have actually been requesting an economic impact study with regards to the ferry service, and the tourism industry of Nova Scotia is going to be facilitating that study, which will provide details of the ferry service to Maine. And so they're working on a plan to move forward with that. There was a recommendation that came from Grant Thornton, which talked about things that they should be focused on, things that should be eliminated. And so they're looking at trying to find ways to improve our organizational effectiveness, establish value for our partners, and solidify staffing and HR practices. So that's moving forward. There was a pitch done with Silver Seas, which is a cruise ship organization. They were not aware of our destination, but they are now. And although their big ships aren't able to come in to our port, their excursion vessels are. So they're going to be looking into that for the future. 55 Games is still going ahead, and that is planned for September 16th to 18th. And there's a number of volunteers who have already signed up. And so that's going forward. The new Yarmouth and Acadian Shores website is being developed, and that should be coming out soon, as well as their e-commerce website, of course. And then they're working with Verb, an organization in Halifax, for a new marketing campaign. Continued to do lots of marketing and CTV segments, and they're looking at billboards. And then they're still working on the TMAC virtual conference. So anyway, there's as always, there are a ton of things happening with YASTA. And the last one is the Western Regional Enterprise Network Liaison and Oversight Committee. We had a meeting with the board, and we talked about direction of where we're going, and we talked about the importance of finding the right people to sit on the board. Mary Thompson and, oh boy, one of the other members have agreed, and I'm just drawing a blank, have agreed to continue for another year. Let me just quickly, we reviewed some of the intermunicipal agreement. One thing we were talking about is having to approve projects over $100,000 that has to come back to the LOC. So we looked at trying to figure out how we were going to do that and whether we should just leave it as it is, which is what we decided for now. And we're continuing to advocate for long-term funding and looking at how best to communicate information to councils in particular, and the importance of councils reading the documents when you get them, because it will tell you exactly what programs and projects are working on. The immigration program is still very busy. That being said, with COVID, it's made it quite difficult. One of the other issues we talked about is whether the REN needs to take on and work on the housing issue, because since we have so many new people coming here, we have organizations hiring, but what we have a housing issue, and particularly some of these big organizations that have to hire a lot of people. And if we bring immigrants in here, where are they going to stay? So that's something that we'll probably be talking about in the future, of whether or not that's something that they need to start becoming involved in. Everybody's pleased with the success of the internet program. They are still working on the energy program. And so far, so good. There's other programs for people who have been having some difficulties during COVID. The best place to go is the REN to ask for assistance and where they can get grant money, etc. I think I'm done. Sorry, that was fast.
No, there's a lot in there, Councillor Durkee. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. Certainly.
I've been busy.
I'm certainly glad that you're looking for long-term funding in regards to the REN, because they've done so much work for on so many different topics. Like you said, immigrants, possibly working on housing, the internet file. They've certainly done a lot of great work for the area, and I'd like to see them stay. This has been a success for the whole area region. So
Yes, we're saying that working together with all the different municipalities in the region has really made our REN very strong and very helpful to move forward with big projects. We're very, very lucky. Some RENs in the other areas have not been successful, and we're a model for the rest of the province.
yes, that's very true. Thank you very much, Councillor Durkee, on those reports. Councillor Lauren Cushing, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I've got three things to touch base with, but I promise I won't be as long as Patty was. First of all, the Milo Active Transportation, you're looking at, the consultants are looking at the public engagement elements of this important project, which was probably, I think it was also in the CAO report. The solid waste park, of course, we were concerned about the COVID and shut down like it did before. And our manager there monitored very closely. And we're still ongoing. The business is still ongoing there. The COVID guidelines are being addressed at the waste park. And I want to say a big thank you to all the residents of Yarmouth County who are respecting the COVID guidelines at the solid waste park. Very good. I was talking to Glendon different times since our last meeting, right? And so it's busy, but everybody is doing their part, which is good. They're also working on plans for the next cell for the C&D waste, which is a huge project. So you have to start in early planning for that. And of course, everybody knows about the Cape for Shoe Mother's Day weekend official launch. So that's ongoing. You have to book online right now as of until further notice. So, and that's my reports. So thank you.
Oops, thank you very much, Councillor Cushion. Is there any more? It actually said I was muted when I was speaking. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, we're doing some work towards creating a strategic plan on what maybe the outcome of that file would be and what direction we'd like to go in. I think it's exciting work, and I thank Greg for all the time and effort that he's put into that file, and I look forward to moving that forward. And if any of our fellow councillors have any information or input that aren't maybe on the committee that along the lines of along the lines of the peers in the medical buildings both in town and in Argyle, if you have any input that you'd like or thoughts that you'd like to share, I look forward to hearing from you all. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hilton. When do your meetings usually scheduled? I used to get meeting updates that
First or second Monday of the month at 5 o'clock. I would have to maybe Trevor remembers which one.
Yeah, that's quite all right. I'll reach out to the chairperson. Okay, the only other meeting in there is the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation. So this is one of the first times I can remember that all committees had met in any one section for as long as I can remember. But we met on May the 5th. It was a very short meeting. One thing that I'm sad to report is Ron Smith had stepped down from the committee after many years of service. He was there for years before I ever started serving on the Airport Corporation. And on behalf of the Municipality District of Yarmouth, I'd like to thank Ron for his many years of service on that committee. The reason why the meeting was fairly short was number one, we had a budget that we circulated to the councils, which was approved tonight, and also to report on Celtic Air on right sizing the airport. Obviously, with COVID-19 restrictions, they are unable to travel down here to continue their work. However, as soon as the restrictions are complete, they're going to be traveling down here and speaking with the airport staff and myself and other councillors, trying to get the cost under control out there. We don't have any firm plans or commitments yet that they may recommend to us, but that's all because of, unfortunately, COVID has put a stop to a lot of that, because by now they were hoping to be down here 2 or 3 times and their timeline has been just thrown right out the window. But as soon as the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted, they'll get down here and start working on that. They did start working on pricing on some of the things that we sell out there, like Avgas, stuff like that. Some of that was being sold at under market value. So there is some work being done there. Deputy Warden.
Yes, this question is either to you, Mr. Chair, or to the CAO through you. Like to thank Mr. Smith for all his efforts at the airport. He's a valued member and very, very knowledgeable about almost everything. So having said that, when will the vacancies on the airport board be filled?
Madam CAO.
I just wrote a note. So the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation agreement calls for 3 citizen reps. And the recruitment and the decision on the appointments is done by the board itself. And we've had 2 vacancies for quite some time. And given the change that is taking place and the change management that was happening, it was felt by the board prior to COVID that we would leave those vacancies in place until there was sort of a better understanding of the direction or the strategy. Now that Celtic Air has been engaged, I just wrote down in my book that we probably should send a note to the manager, Alain Youth, and ask that citizen reps be added to the next agenda next month, because what we're left with now is a board of 3 elected officials and 3 vacancies. So it's 50% of the board that's vacant. So I'll just ask Alain to put it on the agenda and we'll see what the board wants to do.
Does that answer your question, Deputy Warden? Yeah, okay, thank you. Sure, thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Just an observation. So the board doesn't have any elected, it doesn't have any citizen reps, but the staff is going to make the decision because that's those are the only people left on the board.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Deputy Warden. I'm just going to request that the staff put the item on the agenda for the board to discuss at their next meeting.
Right, but the board is, in fact, there are no citizen reps on the board now, right?
Right, all 3 vacancies are for citizen reps. The 3 board members who are in place are elected officials.
Right. So I mean, I'd suggest that sets up an odd circumstance. I mean, I would think we'd want to populate the board as it should be with citizen reps as soon as possible.
I don't disagree, Deputy Warden. I don't disagree at all. But that is coming on our next agenda. I'm going to make sure that it gets, actually, I wrote down a note here on one of my papers to send off a note. So If mine didn't make it to Island, the CEOs would. So absolutely point taken. All right, there's no other legal entities. We'll move on to advisory committees. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, then Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two to report on. The Accessibility Advisory Committee is in the process of sending out a notice for input on a survey. And I'm going to read, the notice will be going out in the tax bill, but there'll be also another variety of other avenues to participate in the survey. So it says the Municipality of Yarmouth Accessibility Advisory Committee would like to hear from you. Your feedback on what barriers the residents of the municipality face is important. The information gathered from this survey will help the committee better understand accessibility, oh, there's my dog, in our communities and guide the discussion and planning for access and resources needed. So the survey will be available soon on the municipality's website, our Facebook page. There'll be large print copies available at the municipal office, and there'll be instructions on our social media sites on how they can obtain that. So we're looking forward to that. And the other committee, sorry about my dog, he hears talking. He's tired of just listening to me. And so when he hears voices, he's like, oh, who's home? Sorry. Heritage Advisory Committee, we have one new member, Sawyer Nickerson, and we have a returning member, Trudy Amiro. So we'll be looking forward at our July meeting to working with them. And right now, the only thing that is really outstanding is the Port Maitland Cattle Pound that we're working on to try to find some ways to mitigate that issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You went through that quite well without blinking an eye. Councillor Patty Durkee, you're next.
I'm used to the dog barking.
You should see mine. When your dog barked, mine was like, oh, what's going on? I just want to mention it's Nick Dion. I just recalled the name of the other board member for the Wren. I don't have much, but you'll be happy with what I do have. Doctor Recruitment and Retention Committee. I just want to comment that the building on Vancouver Street the construction has started for the new build, which is being sponsored by Coastal Financial, and that will house there will be 2 apartments for residents and then another apartment for students will be coming and going. And the other thing I just want to mention is that the province has started a virtual care program for those individuals who do not have a family doctor, and emails will be sent to those individuals to allow them to sign up. The organization I believe they're working with is Get Maple. And what that does, it will hook you up with a doctor virtually. And if necessary, then they will make a recommendation to see a doctor if need be. And I think that's just, I'm very happy to hear that, because there are so many of us, and that includes me, that do not have a family doctor. And I think under the present circumstances with COVID, that a lot of people have not been addressing some of their own issues that probably should be. So as they've started rolling it out, some people have already received emails, but that should be coming very soon, until such time as we're able to get a doctor. The other thing I wanted to add is that our new doctors are still here and they're still taking on patients. It takes them 18 months roughly to onboard all their new patients, and they haven't even hit the 12-month mark yet. So they'll still be calling people off the 811 list to take them on, but they still have another over 6 months now to keep adding. So they're doing it slowly so that they don't get overwhelmed. But there are doctors here who are continuing to take on new patients. That's it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durkee. Is there any other reports under the advisory? Seeing none, we'll move on to ad hoc. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 9, Warren's report. This report, I'm sorry, I did not write a whole heck of a lot in there. I've been extremely busy, even though we've been enduring a lockdown. As you can see on there, there's roughly 25 meetings that I've reported there, but there's been so many emails and phone calls in regards to internet that a lot of people are very excited and very anxious to get that up and running. One thing that I found with the lockdown, a lot of students, as we all know, are doing their schoolwork from home, and people out in the rural communities can't get that service fast enough. I'm sure Evan Nemeth in the Wren has been dreading looking at his emails every day. I send off on average 3 or 4 a day. I've had 3 just this afternoon that I haven't sent off. So, and Evan's been very good, and I'm going to mention that to him the next time when I can finally see him in responding and getting questions answered. I'm hearing from all people across the municipality. It doesn't matter where, but that's my report that's there in front of you. And if anyone has anything to add that they would like me to add to a report, whether it's a national day of something, please let me know, Scouting Week or something like that. Please let me know and I'll put it in my next report. Okay, moving on. Item number 10, in camera. I need a motion to move into camera. We have 2 items under MGA 22-2, paragraph A, all under contract negotiations. So I need a motion to move into camera. Moved by Councillor Lauren Cushion, seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Motion to move into camera. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. All right, now we're out of in camera. Item number 11, is there any in camera recommendations? Councillor Sherry Hurlbert, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve 5%, cash in lieu of for parkland dedication for subdivision file number 9875.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Is there any other in-camera recommendations? Councillor Patty Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the offer as presented on 41 County Crescent.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none.
Question.
Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. That ends our agenda. So if there's no more items, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Daniel Allen. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Council.